Hi, this is Dr. Claire Steffen again. And in that first segment, we were talking about message music, and we had some strange interference. I'm not quite sure what happened there, but I had to cut off the meeting, and so I'm back. We left off, we were talking about the folks at Spirit to Spirit, Denny and Michael Jenkins, and how they formed a separate nonprofit organization ministry to promote message music. And they describe themselves as advocates and innovators of this new genre, message music, and it's a platform for the concept of ministry work. And I know Michael believes that without the work, it's all meaningless. And so they really look at, like I said, shared partnerships within the community. They're really wonderfully talented musicians, and I'm hopeful in the future you will be hearing some music of us collaborating, in which I've written the lyrics, and Denny and Michael will be producing the music. So, as I've said several times here today, music really has the power to heal, and it can be used to teach us how to align with simple truths in life. Our lives are sometimes so complicated, they move so fast, that we can get really out of balance. And, when we're out of balance, sometimes that's when our health is jeopardized. And so it's very important to find ways to create balance in our lives and to support one another in that effort. And so we want to assist individuals and groups in building this authentic foundation for healing that can guide them through life in a mindful and intentional way. And I think that sometimes the social messages we get through music can promote the universality, that concept of acceptance and ways to connect to one another in oneness. And that we have like a harmonious message that we are all in this together. We all share universal feelings and emotions and some of the same pains. No matter what country we're in, no matter where we live, we experience many of the same feelings and emotions. So music allows us to go beyond culture. It allows us to go beyond these linear concepts of these westernized viewpoints of time. When I worked in Indian health, and I've worked in the Black community, worked in Hispanic communities, even though they're in a westernized culture, their cultural influences give them a different perspective on time, which is really a man-made kind of contrived notion. The earth and the universe has its own way of moving through time, and we try to segment it up into very manageable pieces, which sometimes get out of management, and we push too hard and we demand too much of ourselves. And so, I think part of the beauty of looking at message music, it reminds us that there is a season of time, and you can even think of a biblical connection to that. But, that time is not necessarily something that we earn in a discretionary way where we earn the reward of relaxation, that it's important for us to relax and to be able to engage in self-care, whether we've felt like we've earned it or not. That's that puritanical influence, So Earth has its own time, and in all times there is a time for healing. And so I just kind of like you to think about this, that human emotions occur on a continuum, which may or may not fit the defined guidelines that we have created, and that we define functional behavior within the confines of those discrete measurements. And when they don't fit those discrete measurements, we tend to label people as suffering from mental illness or some other condition. And when people don't fit into the social norms, they tend to experience isolation. And so, we want to allow people to engage in more of an accepting point of view and to connect in a universal way. Oops, let me return back there for 1 second there. So, music also has the ability, to blend different philosophies and ways of thinking. We can bring together the Eastern thought. One of my experience with the Indian health was to think about things more in terms of a medicine wheel, or the 4 directions or 4 seasons. African religions bring a different spiritual and philosophy to our music. Whole world music, whole world spirituality. And there's many people forming new world religions where they're taking some of the traditions of older types of religions and modernizing them to be able to fit into today's way of life. And so, some of the kind of points of views and demands of old school religions are not necessarily valued in the same way they once were. And so people find comfort through morphing them into something that's a little more modern. And then some people who are not at all comfortable in the organized religions or churches will find comfort through metaphysical beliefs, and so you can have spiritual beliefs and religious beliefs even without necessarily having to participate in a church, and you can find that comfort in the earth, in connection to one another and more in universal thought. So music is a very symbolic way of communicating. As I've said many times, it brings us to personal experience, both internally and externally. We connect to it with ourselves and with others. We share experience together collectively. We process emotions and unite around the music. It brings about movement, physical gestures, and dance. The sound, the words, they all evoke memories, creates new ways of thinking and perceiving. And it can be a measure of, social indicators that we align with symbolically. So music can be used to bring about like a team spirit or bring people together in that type of celebration. It also can unite people around loss or times of pain. Or as I said earlier, it can, be a recognition of some type of social oppression or a movement that it needs to call people to elicit change. And music can truly be the thread that binds this culture or adorns it and decorates it and allows us to celebrate life. So music empowers us. It's not only in the words, but it's the meaning behind the words. It's within the culture itself. And that, as I've said many times, music happens within the context of our culture. So it's really a reflection of what's happening with the people in the time that it's occurring, as, like I said, a time capsule. And it's also a way to get a view into other cultures. Music in its eclectic format expresses all the emotions and the different life experiences. It's not defined in a linear way. Instead, it kind of dances and weaves and connects us like a beautiful tapestry that unites and promotes strength and empowerment. So I'm thinking that message music can promote universal healing. It's not defined by one genre. Meaning can be found in many places across space and time. We collectively become one voice in healing, sharing, supporting, empowering, and uniting in strength and love. Perhaps it's not really a new genre. It's always been here to promote a higher purpose and meaning, with the suggestion that there's a desire to belong universally, and that we make the choice to unite together and commit to a ministry to improve our communities locally and globally, and to recognize that these messages and callings have always been present and within us and through us in the music. It's bigger than any one genre. It's not owned by anyone. It's more powerful than any quote-unquote host culture, if there is such a thing. It is a united force that resonates around the world. The message is in the music. It's always existed and always will. And putting a label on it of message music as its own genre simply acknowledges the movement to collectively unite, empower, and support universal healing through a conduit that we named message music. So it's got the intention of global healing. It's the ability to heal within each of us, individually and collectively. We can work together to heal ourselves, our families, our communities with a global intention. Message music is the expression of that intention. And we are in need of healing physically, mentally, emotionally, and socially. And the integration of music and intentional healing can be advanced through the recognition of the marriage of music and social messages that unite and connect us in acceptance and universality. Well, there's a rationale here for why we want to create this message music as a separate and universal genre. It represents the cultural changes that are occurring globally. People of all nations strive to have purpose and meaning in life. You know, the more you find that purpose and meaning, the more you're going to be happy with your life. And all people long for acceptance, forgiveness, and love, which I think are the keys to healing, especially when I'm dealing with people that have experienced trauma. They definitely need that acceptance, forgiveness, and love. It's a path to healing for trauma and loss. And every one of us wants to feel empowered to make healthy choices and to live a healthy life. And at times we find the subliminal message or the meta message, which is the message about the meaning, that empower us in the lyrics of a song or through themed music, or by rising our voices in song. Collectively, we connect and we rise above any socially driven limitations within a culture that define and suppress us. Message music is the universal consciousness that is the spirit of oneness, and it's the universal truth that we are all deserving and worthy of love. And I just want to remind you the words of Denny Jenkins, we are more alike than different. I love that expression. So these are some of the places where you can connect with me and learn a little bit more about the work that I do. If you're interested in becoming a life, wellness, or business coach and you share the similar vision here, you can visit my website at coachingchoicecollege.com. And I also have continuing education courses for coaches from ce4coaches.com. And I promote the universality of family for people that are in need of that type of support, that maybe don't have healthy families of origin or are separated from their families for one reason or another, students, veterans, there's all different reasons why people need family support, and that we can create family through choice. Some of my Facebook groups or pages are Message Music, Connecting Culture and Social Change. Familyofchoice.org is a particular group that I run on Facebook. There is a site for Coaching Choice College, CE for Coaches, and then a group for Social and Emotional Intelligence and Choice. You can connect with Denny and Michael Jenkins from Spirit to Spirit Ministry and Music through their site, Spirit to Spirit messagemusic.com. They also have Facebook groups of Spirit to Spirit. Denny and Michael each have their own individual Facebook pages. And all of us can be found on Two Safe Soul Records, that is founded, and the executive director is Keith Martin in Parkville, Maryland. And he shares the vision of using the efforts of him being a social entrepreneur to promote message music and to bring this genre and others to people globally. So he brings together a band of singers, songwriters, musicians, preachers, ministers, healers, teachers, community leaders, and folks like myself to spread the word of the mission to access community healing through music and education. So you'll find my music through Two Safe Soul Records and also the music of Denny and Michael Jenkins. And that is the label there for Two Safe Soul Records and Radio, which is their internet radio station. Well, thank you very much for listening, and stay tuned. We'll be presenting more as time goes on and teach you more about message music. Thank you and have a wonderful day. Bye now.